And welcome everybody to another edition of the Brody File. Glad you're with us. It's June. Hey, I don't know what that means. Oh, I know what it means. It's a month from the convention. But more importantly, this month, a big meeting. Donald Trump and evangelical leaders. That's right. The Donald is going to sit down with hundreds of evangelical leaders in a room, Trump Tower, June 21st. Oh, by the way, the Brody File trying to get into that meeting. It's a private closed-door meeting, but hey, we have connections. Take a look at some of these folks that are going to be at the meeting. James Dobson, you know him, Focus on the Family. Gary Bauer, Tony Perkins, Paula White, Ralph Reed. There are so many here. We could keep listing them and listing them. We're not going to do that because I need a little bit more airtime and they don't need. No, the reason is that we've just got, there's so many that are going to be there, but this is going to be a very important meeting. And guess what? Time right off the bat for a Brody File commentary. Look, here's the deal at this meeting. What we understand is there's going to be about 30 or so evangelical leaders that will meet with him, and then they'll bring in a couple more hundred or so. There could be up to 400 leaders at this meeting. What are they going to ask him? Well, I can tell you this. Yes, they will talk about policy. They'll talk about Israel. They'll talk about radical Islam. All of that stuff will be included, and they're going to want to get Donald Trump's take on all of that. They'll ask him about the Supreme Court as well, but of course, Donald Trump has preempted that strike by putting out his own Supreme Court list that has gone very well so far. One thing they are, and you know this is going to come up, that they're going to discuss is temperament. You know, can Donald Trump be, in essence, secure, or at least they feel secure that his temperament is okay and that he's not going to go off the rails and, quite frankly, start cursing up a storm or start insulting people left and right. It's not very Christian-like, and I think it's very important that they get some assurances that Donald Trump is able to somehow rein it in. If they feel more comfortable with that, I think they'll walk out of that meeting pretty comfortable all in all. And look, they're all going to go start talking to the media left and right about what happened in the meeting. So it is in Donald Trump's best interest to tone it down and make sure he actually does what he says. All right, let's move on now to our interview with Dennis Prager, conservative radio talk show host, heard across the country. He was out in California at the California Renewal Project event. We were there as well, and we had a chance to speak to him one-on-one about Donald Trump, GOP unity, and is there hope for America? Dennis Prager, let me ask you first. Donald Trump, the Republican presidential election, have you seen a crazier election in your lifetime than this?
I have never seen anything like it. And to be perfectly honest, in any event, I've written this and broadcast this. I'm not happy with either candidate. Out of 330 million Americans to come up with Donald Trump and Hillary Clinton, or for that matter, Bernie Sanders, doesn't matter, is sad to me. Having said that, I said from the beginning, and I was extremely critical of Donald Trump, I'm a conservative Republican. I'll go further. I am a religious conservative Republican. I did not want Donald Trump for character reasons, for a whole host of other reasons. He was my 17th choice of 17 candidates, but I said in National Review and on my radio show that if he is nominated, I will vote for him. And I continue to hold that very strongly because the greater good is the defeat of the left. The left is hurting my country as it is hurt and indeed destroying Western Europe. It is doing that to the United States. Not every person on the left is a bad person, but there is ample history of people who are decent personally and have terrible ideas. So I'm not attacking them personally, but leftism is ruining our country, our schools, our culture, our children, our economy, our international relations, you name it, it has ruined it. So the defeat of the Democrats is the greater good, and that's why I'm voting for Trump.
We hear a lot about GOP unity and that it's really important that Republicans come together. You think that's overblown?
I don't think it's overblown. I would like the GOP to unite because that means that they understand that the greatest good in this instance is the defeat of the Democrats and the left. That's the greatest good. To say that, one is not happy with Donald Trump for any number of reasons. I subscribe to all those reasons. But in life, you don't always get a choice between wonderful and awful. You get between awful and more awful. And I'll always take the awful over the more awful. We supported the great genocidal dictator Stalin to defeat Hitler. Does that mean we loved what Stalin did? No, it meant that in the context of that day, the greater good was the support of the butcher Stalin over the butcher Hitler. We dropped 2 atom bombs over Japan. Why? Because the context morally demanded it. And the moral demand in our time in America is the defeat of the left.
Look, there are a lot of folks, Dennis, who see the culture and they don't like what's going on. They feel pessimistic. They feel downtrodden. Where is the hope exactly? I guess what I'm asking is, what do you tell people in that situation?
Well, I'll tell you what I tell them. I am not optimistic. That is correct. Because greatness, goodness is fragile. Every generation has to renew what is good. And we haven't renewed it. Starting about 58, even 75 years ago, we stopped teaching the next generation what America stands for, what I call the American Trinity: in God we trust, e pluribus unum, and liberty, what we see on every coin. It's not taught. It stopped being taught. It wasn't even taught to me. It just stopped being taught. And therefore, we are losing the American idea. America is not a geographical entity. It is an idea. If we lose the idea, then we just become a geographical entity. There's Canada, there's the United States, there's Mexico, the 3 North American countries, and that's it. We're a place between Canada and Mexico. We're losing the idea. However, and you asked this, what do we do about it? The fact that I'm not optimistic doesn't mean I don't fight. And I will tell you how I learned this. When I visited Normandy Beach and saw all the graves. Those guys going onto Normandy Beach, especially the first landing, why were they urinating in their pants? Because they were pessimistic? Or excuse me, because they were optimistic? No, optimists don't pee in their pants. But they went. You don't fight because you think you'll win or you're sure you'll win. You fight because that's the right thing to do. I'm fighting for this country because those guys died for me, because George Washington made something spectacular. So I don't know if I'll win, but the idea, imagine a team, they're losing. It's the 3rd period. I'm a hockey fan. 3rd period, they're down by 2 goals. What team says, you know, statistically, it does look bad. So therefore, why should we give it our all? That's nonsense.
Dennis Prager here on the Brody File. All right, when we come back, Pastor Mark Harris, first a pastor, actually still a pastor, now dabbling into politics. His story from North Carolina when we come back. And welcome back, everybody, to the Brody File. Time now to focus in on Pastor Mark Harris. He is senior pastor, First Baptist Church in Charlotte, North Carolina. He's been very outspoken on the traditional marriage issue. Some call it the gay marriage issue. He's also fighting the good fight on the transgender bathroom wars. And now he's moving from the pulpit into politics. Yes, he's a pastor, but he's also now running for the U.S. congressional seat, 9th District, down in North Carolina. We had a chance to talk to him about what is going on in his life. God has you on the front lines for traditional marriage and what's going on in this country. Tell me about that.
It was during that experience, I would say, that God brought something to my heart that I guess I knew in my head, but it hadn't settled in my heart. And that is, boy, there is a vacuum of leadership in this country. And there are people all over the state of North Carolina that are feeling that they don't have anybody speaking their voice. They don't have anybody standing up for them. And it just began to weigh on me and weigh on me.
Let me ask you, and this would be, I would think, very valuable to pastors that are thinking about getting involved in the political process. What is your advice? I mean, what are some tips that you can provide?
One thing I think has got to be at the center of it is prayer. And it's got to not just be your prayer, it's got to be your spouse's prayer. I think you and your spouse have got to be together on this. I've never made any decision like this without first bathing it in prayer with my wife, Beth. And she has been such a partner walking together through ministry with me. So I think you've got to pray and get that call of God in your life and that affirmed with your spouse that this is what we're supposed to do. Secondly, and in my case, I felt like I wanted to bring my church along with this. I know different pastors face different situations with their congregations. Some congregations will say, well, you got to decide, are you going to be politician or preacher? And you choose. If you're going to be our preacher, great. But if you want to be a politician, then resign and go on. I was very fortunate and blessed at First Baptist Church Charlotte that it is a church that understood. It understood the situation. It understood the circumstances.
Tell me a little bit about this boldness, how pastors need to be bolder, especially today.
The boldness is definitely needed. I shared at this event last night that pastors, if we go back and look at our nation's history, all the way from its founding, we have to clarify to our people the reality of what Proverbs says. I talked about Proverbs 28:4 last night, and I talked about the fact that we've got to recognize that there will be those who will praise what God calls sin. And we've got to recognize that. And we've got to clarify for our people that there are two different worldviews at work in our world today, a minimum of two. And pastors have got to be bold enough to really teach our people the issues. These are biblical issues that are staring us in the face. And it's a responsibility to deliver the whole counsel of God.
Pastor Mark Harris here on the Brody File. All right, when we come back, Amber C. Strong joins the show. We love when she's on and she gets paid extra. No, she doesn't. I don't know. I'll look at some documents. Food waste. She's on top of the case. What does it mean? I don't know. I'm just reading a script. Back in a moment. And welcome back, everybody, to the Brody File. All right, time now for a story about waste. Not necessarily about the Brody File show, even though it can be considered a waste of time for a lot of folks. Not us, we love the show. But this is about food waste. And by the way, the Brody File never wants to put food to waste. But there are some celebrity chefs out there that say, hey, wait a minute, a lot of food is being wasted and we got to come up with some creative new alternatives. Amber C. Strong on the case with the story about the waste. It rhymes.
Gourmet food fit for a king. That's what a group of chefs served to DC residents for free as part of an event titled Feeding the 5,000. But the story here isn't the world-renowned chefs serving up heaping portions of goodness. Instead, it's the source of the food itself. The ingredients for the meals came from wasted food. That's right, wasted food. The chefs and event organizers hope to show residents the beautiful meals that could be made from food otherwise deemed useless. Americans toss out more than $1 billion worth of food a year. When most people think of wasted food, they think of steamy piles of garbage or the meal left on the plate after a 2-year-old takes a bite and proudly declares he's all done. But that isn't always the case. Some of the food wasted in the U.S. comes from grocery stores, restaurants, and farmers held back by bureaucratic red tape and industry standards. For example, a farmer may be forced to toss a part of a crop if it doesn't meet industry standards. A grocery store may refuse to display less than perfect veggies. So instead of finding a use for that misshapen carrot, it's tossed in the trash. Sometimes government red tape can keep a restaurant or grocery store from giving away unattractive or leftover food. Confusion over food labels can also lead to waste. Consumers get easily confused by the difference between the guidelines that say best by or use by. According to Feedback, a group dedicated to cutting food waste, the food wasted in the U.S., the U.K., and Europe would be enough to feed the 1 billion malnourished people around the world. Numbers like these have some fighting for change. A group of top celebrity chefs brought their culinary skills here to Capitol Hill. They're testifying before a House committee hoping that key legislative changes could make a difference when it comes to American food waste. For example, clarifying those labels that say expiring or best before could save Americans spoonfuls of money.
Our bill also looks at donation policy, making it easier for farmers to give away food that would otherwise go to waste, same with retail stores. And one piece we picked up, which we find is sort of the most puzzling part for most people, is this idea of a label that's on the back of a can or a bag. Most of those labels are somewhat arbitrary. They don't really mean that the date you see is a date after which the food would be unsafe.
Some places aren't waiting on congressional change. For example, DC Central Kitchen, a nonprofit organization in Washington, D.C., prides itself on feeding the city's hungry using donated and recycled food. Just another example of an organization's dedication to feed the hungry, despite the red tape.
Amber C. Strong here on the Brody File. All right, when we come back, what's the haps? I just like saying that. Abigail Robertson talking about millennials and job prospects, and are they just sitting around eating Cheetos in their parents' apartment and house? Well, the story next. And welcome back, everybody, to the Brody File. All right, time now for a new segment. We call it What's the Haps? Because, you know, what's happening? What's going on with millennials? Well, who better to figure all of this out than our own resident millennial, Abigail Robertson, and she is here to talk about millennials and how to get that job and get off the parents' dime and just go find a job. Get out, get out, get out. What's the haps?
What's the haps this week? Well, it's that time of the year again when young adults graduate and suddenly find themselves in the big, bad, real world. I know from fairly recent experience, it can be a daunting and humbling time in life. To help launch grads into this new season, I hit the CBN newsroom to talk to some hiring pros about the good and the bad of the interview process.
I've interviewed some really interesting people over the years, and I've had some really good interviews from some really smart individuals who are just talented and ready to take on the world, and then I've had some real duds.
Do you have any experience?
No, sir, I have no experience, but I'm a big fan of money. I like it.
Someone came in for an interview right out of school and dressed down in very casual clothing, including a screened t-shirt and flip-flops. And I told someone the other day, I said, not only were they flip-flops, but she didn't even have her toenails painted.
You're wearing tuxedos to a job that requires you to clean bathrooms. Please leave this office. We're done with this interview.
Do we get any sort of souvenir?
You need to make a rock-solid first impression when you are applying for a job.
A young woman who came here to interview for a producer position with a very popular show here at CBN News. When I asked this woman why she wanted to be a producer and what her goals were for the job, she told me, and I feel comfortable quoting her, she told me, quote, all I want to do is get married and have babies.
Megavolt.
We had this applicant who looked really great on paper, so we decided to call her up and have her come in for an interview. Well, we made the call and no answer, so we left a voicemail. A few days went by, she still hadn't called back. So about a week and a half after the initial call, we finally get a call back from this applicant, and she says that the reason she didn't call back sooner, and this is a quote, was because last week was my birthday week.
I'm just laughing. It's over.
That printed resume and cover letter is still very important. When you write that letter, make sure that you personalize it. I actually had received a resume at one point in another workplace where I was the hiring manager, and that person sent me a cover letter that had no salutation on it. Just started out with a body, blah, 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 blah. And so immediately, I literally threw that resume in the trash can.
And human resources lady.
It's Pam.
I'm sorry. Well, Pan.
No, my name is Pam.
Are you saying Pan or Pam?
I've had people call and ask at stations that I worked at in the past, who am I going to be talking to? And then they address that cover letter to that person. That's going the extra mile. Anyone can call a receptionist and say, who is the manager in that department? I'm applying for a job and I want to personalize a letter to that person.
Amazing advice. I want to wrap up by throwing in a few tips of my own. Let's go back to that first impression. Work on a confident handshake. Make sure it's strong, but don't cut off their circulation. Look the person in the eye and say, "Nice to meet you," insert their name. Repeating their name will help you commit it to memory. For both the guys and the gals, I recommend investing in 2 all-star interview outfits that you feel ready to take on the world in. Ladies, cuts up, hems down. Have a trusty blazer like this one that you can throw on top of a dress or pair with dark pants, pumps, and a nice blouse if the office is more casual. Practice answering some standard interview questions and talking points so you never get caught looking like a deer in the headlights. And be honest. If you're interviewing at other places, it's okay to be candid and tell them. It does neither party any favors to lead someone on if you're not serious, and you might just end up with a better offer if they know they have a little competition. Most important, pray. My go-to interview prayer is that God opens the doors to the right opportunities I should take and slams the door shut to the places I don't belong. Welcome to the real world, recent graduates. Stay close to God, and it won't be near as daunting as you think.
Abigail Robertson with What's the Haps? So millennial, so cool. Back in a moment. Welcome back, everybody, to the Brody File. Before we leave you, look, we'll admit it, we're narcissistic. It is the Brody File, after all. And yes, the show does get to our head. But speaking about getting to our head, time for the Oy Vey moment of the week. Well, here we go. It's not a pretty picture. A Chinese man with his head inside a washing machine. That's Oigavolt right there. See what was going on? He wanted to use the washing machine. He found out that the machine wasn't working, so he thought the drum inside might have been a problem. So he went ahead and checked it out, and of course, he went head first, and there's the result. He's fine. Don't worry. I mean, look, we're a unique show. Where are you going to ever find a story about a Chinese man with his head stuck in a washer or a dryer or a washing machine? You're not going to find that anywhere else. You're not finding that on Jake Tapper's show or Wolf Blitzer. You're not finding it. You'll find it here. That's it for this week. Until next time, God bless. Have a great week. Oigavolt.